Montague is recording for her personal use. That's okay. Thank you. Okay, Bill, I see you're here for Tour de Gretna. Are you, Bill? We have you on the agenda, so we'll just wait for you to speak, if that's all right.
Thank you.
And Michael Adams, we also have you on the agenda, so we'll get you also. And I think that's it. Was there any other, the changes to the agenda? I don't think there are any other public input. Okay, so moving on, Bill will be here soon. He got stuck in the Trump motorcade, so he's on his way. Can I have a motion to approve the Board of Supervisor minutes on November 12th, 2019?
So moved.
I'll second. I do have a question, Patrick. Since Jenna's no longer with us and she was the one that recorded these, who signs off on these?
The minutes?
Yeah,
You can just let the record reflect that you've approved them.
okay.
I don't know if you necessarily need anyone
To sign them.
So long as the board, they're actually not final until the board votes and approves them.
So
regardless
since
if they're
they're
signing off or not.
voting, approving them, it doesn't matter if there's a
Correct.
signature or not. Okay.
Correct.
And then all those in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to approve November 14th minutes?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Bill and payroll,
You only
2219.
got 22, I was 23 didn't cut out yet.
Okay, that's fine. Do I have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So 2319 will table until our next meeting. Manager report, we don't have a current manager. We do have plenty of applicants and we'll be interviewing several of them on Friday. And zoning and code enforcement officer, she gave her report. She is also absent this evening, talking to Trump and Pence. So we had zoning 14 issued permits, building 7 issued permits, 1 burn permit, 1 highway occupancy, total of 2 complaints, which were stormwater. Stormwater modification from Keystone, still no contact with Keystone after several attempts. There's a zoning hearing board on November 14th, hearing for a detached garage to be attached to a house and will not be meeting a side yard setback, and that was granted. Zoning review, planning commission still in review of the first 3 sections. The last planning commission meeting was canceled due to lack of a quorum. And that was from Dawn. Patrick, do you have anything that's not on the agenda?
No, nothing that's not on the agenda. You do have a public hearing this evening with respect to the pension amendment ordinance, but I'll handle that when we get there.
Okay, thank you. Chief, do you have something for us?
Yeah, a little bit. Last month, officers reported on 247 incidents, made 3 arrests, all of which were DUI arrests, issued 83 traffic citations. That was a combination of aggressive driving and buckle up Pennsylvania enforcement, mostly that. Issued 4 non-traffic citations and 28 verbal warnings. Operation Fill a Cruiser is in full swing. There's a couple more opportunities where we'll have officers out collecting non-perishable food items and new toys and clothing. They are December 14th at the Palmyra Grocery Outlet from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. and same day, December 14th, at Redner's from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Also on December 19th, Mount Gretna Brewery is going to, they have a weekly trivia night, and a portion of the beverage sales will go to Fill a Cruiser. I think this is the 3rd time they've done that. It's very much appreciated.
Are those dates on your Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. So moving on, let's see, Public Works, I don't have anything, but I do have a report from Kendra from the library. The library's board met on Tuesday, November 17th and will not meet in December. The next board meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 21st. The library's capital campaign has raised over $511,000 so far, with the money still coming in. The library's annual fund drive is currently underway. Everyone is asked to give generously. The board has passed its 2020 budget. The officers for the board for 2021 are President Don Klein, Vice President Jane, I can never say her name, what is that? Thank you, Caroli, Secretary Kendra Kaufman, Treasurer Matt Blaze. Don Klein was reappointed to the Lebanon System Board. Ornaments are still for sale to be displayed on the library's Christmas tree. The cost is $10. They can be purchased in honor of or in memory of someone. The ornaments will be available to be picked up after Christmas. Respectfully submitted by Kendra Hoffman, Library Representative. Campbelltown, do you have a report today?
For the month of November, we had 38 calls. Average personnel per call 7, average response time 4 minutes and 19 seconds. We assisted Palmyra once, Lawn 6 times, Annville 3 times, Lawn Ambulance 11 times, Lifeline Ambulance 3 times, Hershey 2 times. 1 building fire, 1 trash fire, 1 brush fire, 13 medical assists, 4 accidents with injuries, 1 accident with no injuries, 1 power line down, 3 public service calls, 9 dispatched and canceled while responding, 3 automatic fire alarms, 1 carbon monoxide detector, and 1 to assist the police department.
Thank you. Lon?
You have yours or?
I didn't bring it with, but we
We responded to 12 emergencies, 7 of them in South Londonderry Township. I don't have the breakdown on because I've checked, that's usual. But year-to-date, 1,629 hours contributed by our station.
Thank you. All right, moving on, Bill's not here for Palmyra Rec report, so we'll table that. We do have municipal authority minutes in here. Planning Commission did not have a meeting because they had a lack of a quorum. I don't have Historical Commission in here, and Fire Board did not have a meeting this past month. Moving on, Township official input. Do you have anything?
I don't.
Okay, I don't either. So moving on to the hearing. Do you want to lead us in that, Patrick?
Sure. If the board may recall, you got what's been titled Amendment number 3 to the South Londonderry Township non-uniformed employees pension plan. To the 2 proposed revisions in Amendment number 3 is 1, the definition of earnings to be consistent with how the township has been considering that definition, and the other is a new provision indicating that an employee who is hired prior to January 1, 2020 shall first become an active participant on the earliest date on which he is an eligible employee. Any employee who is hired after the 1st of January 2020 will not participate in the existing defined benefit plan. The intent is to, at some point in time in 2020, once RJ Hall completes the new plan, to have a defined compensation plan. That's my understanding. So this amendment puts into effect and implements those 2 revisions. In order to proceed with the amendment, you have to authorize it by an ordinance. Hence, we've advertised this ordinance for a public hearing this evening. It's been advertised pursuant to the second-class township code. So with that, we'll open the public hearing. Public hearing is open. Any comments or questions with respect to the proposed ordinance in amendment number 3 to the non-uniform pension plan from the board?
No.
No.
Seeing none, any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, we can close the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. And if the board wanted to entertain a motion approving ordinance number,
I don't have to read it.
No, I just have amendment number 3 on there.
okay, well, to the extent we can track down the next, sometimes it's on the agenda.
It just says.
We'll have to track down the next ordinance number.
It'll be 17, 9, 14, 15, and 16.
So those are resolutions.
Oh, these are resolutions, okay.
So we'll just track down the correct ordinance number, but you can still proceed with adopting the ordinance as prepared and advertised, authorizing the township to enter into and execute amendment number 3 to the township's non-uniformed employees pension plan.
So moved.
And I'll second. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
So moving on to the 2020 budget approval. So I had a resident look at this and give me some great insight as to some of the errors that had occurred in what was advertised. So we'll try to, I see Bill walking in now. We'll try to run through what was changed. We did the math and we believe we're within range of what is permissible to change it without having to re-advertise. So if we go to page 1.
Yeah, you want me to take you through? I'm
Well,
sorry, I was writing
no,
down.
that's okay, you're fine. I was gonna just go through the highlighted, like where I changed stuff.
Yeah, pursuant to the second-class township code, if there are certain corrections, we'll call these, that were missed prior to the advertisement, so long as they're within a certain threshold that's set by the second-class township code, that being 25% of a major category and 10% of the overall aggregate budget itself. So as long as the slight changes that you're going to go through or corrections don't exceed those thresholds, you are okay.
Okay,
Meaning you
Which-
don't have to re-advertise.
yes. But I wanted to go through what we changed so that everybody knows that.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. I
And
recommend
then-
that regardless.
Yeah, and then we'll obviously get the correct, what we approved onto the website so that it makes, so that everybody can review it. I do not have, I have 3 copies, only because I went through it today
There's
and
not
tried.
very many categories, really.
Do you have
I'll just put it on the website.
do you have the original, okay, you're gonna pull up the website, okay. Well, actually, do you want this one and I can
Yeah,
share
yeah,
with Jack?
I have another one if somebody else wants one.
And Bill will actually have one in his here too. I spent some time today, the resident went through and brought some stuff to my attention. Glenda had some changes, Chief had some changes that weren't correct in advertising the budget.
Okay.
So we believe they're within the allowed change so that we don't have to re-advertise, but I just wanted to walk through them and,
Yep.
and go through with what was changed. So the general government expenditure, the number that I now have is $428,307. Can I use this one? This is the old one, right? Okay. The total for the expenditure in general fund is $3,820,894.
I'm sorry, can you say, what was that?
The total there is $3,820,894. So I'll show you where those changes were made then when we go through that part. But in the revenue part, the solicitation permits under public safety on page 2, I believe it is. Just want to make sure I have it all in the same. That line item was over in the expenditure. It's actually a revenue. So I've now placed that underneath zoning permits. It's called solicitation permits. I'll show you where it was over in the expenditures. It's $250. The police time reimbursement, which is following, maybe 3 down from there. Chief had 8,000. He's asked for that to be changed to 13,000. That's the money that comes in when people do events, correct, Chief? So the police cover it, but they get reimbursed for it for whomever's using their time.
Right, the biggest portion of that though is the Center for Highway Safety. When we do the traffic enforcement waves, they reimburse us for that.
So that's money coming in. I'll show you then where we took it out when we get to that part. Contributions to the police, Delachest has committed to giving $8,000 to them for for 2020. So we put that in there. That was current, in the budget you all saw advertised, it was only 100. It's 8,000 now. Moving on to refunds, that's on page 3. Underneath the health insurance employee contributor, the 77,000, there is other reimbursements for health insurance that we get. So there's a new line item, it's health insurance refunds. Glenda, we get that from like the different companies that we do. It doesn't depend on the employee
And right.
claims, it's,
That's what Benetcon and Susquehanna Municipal, which is our workman's comp. If there's like overages at the end of the year for maybe 2 years before. I think the ones we got in this year were from 2017.
okay.
So one was.
So we wanted to keep that separate so that we
wanted to
can
keep
have,
that
an
separate from what the employees are actually paying back to the township out of their pays.
yes. So that's $10,000. There's also another additional line item added, and that's the traffic light replacement insurance claim. So the traffic light on 322 and Forge, we had a truck hit it. We have insurance money coming back. Part of that has been paid this year, so that's in the actual 2019 budget. But the other rest of the repairs will happen in 2020, so that needed to be accounted for in the 2020 budget. That income will be $11,455. So that brings our subtotal to the refunds to $104,355. Dot, yell at me if I'm going too fast. Okay. Sorry, Glenda. I'll get you a copy of this then too. I know I stole yours, but. All right, so moving on to expenditure detail then. We're at the admin assistant public works. That number was incorrectly configured. So the public works admin assistants, the budget is $33,207. I think that's all the changes on that page. Oh, and I also, does anybody want we have a number for the Sunoco grant. What's that number called? The line item number?
Line item we have.
Yeah. Does anybody want that number? I can read it to them, or else it will be on the website. Okay. All right, so moving on then to page 5. The police department budget. Looking at overtime, initially what was advertised was $38,000. That is being reduced to $25,000. Overtime shift differential is being increased by $600 to $34,000. Reimbursable overtime, that's being changed from the $8,000 to the $13,000. That's where we explained before in the income part. What?
It's coming in under income, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And then it's being taken back out over here.
On hands. It has to be hand done. That's-
I don't know what you mean.
The 13,000 reimbursable overtime.
Yes.
Jenna had that as, she was moving it by hand. I can't possibly put incoming money into an expenditure.
You need a journal entry.
Yeah, it'll have to be a journal entry.
No, when it's paid out to officers, we already have 2 categories of overtime. And so that would be a third one, that it's overtime that we know will be
Okay, then
reimbursed.
you're gonna break that down and give it to me that way.
Yeah, I think the sheets already have them broken down like that.
Okay, but that doesn't change the budget. We just have to figure out how to do that internally.
Internal.
Okay. Moving down then to the county CAD fees, it's like the third one from the bottom. That's being changed from $1,800 to $2,500. There's the Trax upgrade, which for the laptop, that's being moved up to $6,400. Then there's 2 line items that were not accounted for. One is the donation money from Delichess. We need to put that into the budget and where it's going to be spent, and that's $8,000. And that's going to be used in addition with the next line item, which is capital purchases. And that capital purchase number is $25,880. And that is going to be for the police department. So between the $25,880 and the $8,000 donation from Delichess, it's going to include computers for the police, a copier for the police, two copiers,
I think they're throwing in a second refurbished purchased one for the patrol area.
Yes,
And also the portable radio booster system.
that was the next thing, the portable radio booster, which is the big line item for that. It's 25,000 just for that, correct? 28,000. Okay. So that, let me see if there's anything else that's. So on page 9, under signs and signals for public works. I think that's page 9. Hang on, let me make sure it is on this one. Is it? No. It's not page 9 on that one. It's page 8, I think then.
433, 361.
Page 8, at the top of your page 8. Signal maintenance, that has gone up to 18,955 because that's where we will fix the light at Campbelltown Road and, or, I'm sorry, Horseshoe Pike and Forge. Which again, that was put into the income per the insurance check that we received. And I'm looking to see if anything else was red flag for me to change. There's a couple, again, numbers, line item numbers, not actual budget numbers, but the, what did you call them? What do they call, what are they officially called? Accounting codes? What?
Their appropriation codes or general ledger codes.
Thank you. Those. There were some changes in some of them. Again, I have those fixed. We'll have it correctly put on the website. Other than that, does anybody else have any questions about the budget? I know that was a lot. Unfortunately, there were errors, so.
For the Londonderry Conservancy, we only give them $1,000. Is there a reason that we don't give them more?
That's just what we've always approved. And then we give them, what's the other line item above that or below that? What page are you on?
Farmland preservation, that's different.
I'm on the wrong page 9. Yes, farmland preservation, 12,000, library, 30,000, Lebanon Valley Conservancy, 1,000.
And is there any reason why it's so little?
That's just what we've always given them.
Well, you might consider giving them more.
I personally, I don't know what it goes towards, so unless they tell me that they need more, and what they do.
You might contact them and see. if
I'm
you-
sure they'd accept donations.
I don't know.
Honestly,
I'm sure if they take tax money, they would definitely take donations.
honestly, when you say you might contact them, they might wanna contact us and
Okay.
tell us, since we're the
I'll let them-
ones giving them,
Contact you if they want to more.
yeah, I mean, that's not up to us.
And for the on page 17, for the MS4 projects and permits, what is that $750,000 for
MS4 projects,
specifically?
yes.
You mean like more detail as to what we're going to do for MS4 projects? Well, initially it was going to be to go towards Lingle Road, and then PennDOT said they were gonna take that over, and now you heard that conversation
Yes.
last board meeting.
What-
So now we have to figure out how to satisfy the 10% reduction load that we must have in this permitting cycle, so that's the money we've set aside to do those projects.
Okay, but you don't have any idea what you're gonna do?
We-
on that?
Yeah.
We've had several conversations with Ritu, and we're working on projects, yes, we do have ideas.
Okay, are you gonna do anything like to resolve some of the flooding on 322 that has happened with the rains? Like maybe do something with Spring Creek when we get the heavy rains to, do something with the riparian buffer there and clean that up?
Do you know if that was on the list that she was discussing? I haven't seen the official list yet as to what,
I don't think it made the final cut, but I can check with her when I get back tomorrow.
and then that's not gonna reduce our sediment load, which is what we need to do with our
And seeing
MS4.
how those properties are all going to be in the new floodplain, I think it's gonna be very difficult to alleviate that.
Okay, and there's nobody that, does something in relation to the developments causing the problem.
That's your opinion.
Well, if it's current and didn't happen before, then what's causing it?
Again, that's your opinion, and the problem is when you speak to the professionals, the people you're asking to, they're going to tell you that the release is slower than prior to development, so it's all a balancing act.
Okay, and then, there's this recreation fund, it says transfer to general fund. What is that from?
That's the payback, right?
That will be from the development happening, is it on Lindell? The development on Lindell, they must pay a certain recreation fee per house. So that's that money, and then it will go back in the general fund because previous boards borrowed money from the general fund to purchase the Campbelltown Park. So that money is still being repaid.
And how much remains that has to be repaid?
I think it's $30,000.
Okay.
Does that sound right? Well,
I have a spreadsheet in my computer somewhere with it all.
okay, I thought we were down to 30,000, but I guess we'll have to check and see to tell you what that exact number is.
I think that's it.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, no other questions? Can I have a motion to approve the budget with these changes?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you for your patience on all of that. I'll try to we're short-staffed right now, and I don't have the access code to the website, but I think, Dawn should be back in tomorrow. She advertised the budget, or the agenda for tonight, so I should be able to get it on there tomorrow morning. I hope. Bear with me, but we'll get it on there. All right, Resolution 14, 2019. Patrick, I saw an email. Did you have an email about something on this? Was there a date?
Not the street.
Not this one? Okay. Okay, so this is the streetlight assessment. Do I have a motion to approve this from someone?
There was no changes to the areas, right, on this one?
No changes to the areas, just the
Okay.
3% increase.
I don't believe so,
Other
but let
than
me
those
ask,
couple that we,
let me ask this.
We did change those,
The end of
right?
Campbelltown Palmyra Road,
yes.
correct?
So that should be
No
That-
changes other than the ones we did.
Well,
last.
so later on in the agenda, there's flight path streetlights. There's a business that's on flight path streetlights area that the lights haven't been turned on yet, and they've been paying streetlights for the past however many years. We can get to that, but I don't think, the streetlight should be turning on, so I don't think that affects the resolution.
Right, they're working on it. so
Yes.
That should be.
So, but as far as changing the area, I don't think anything besides Campbelltown Palmyra Road.
And then, Patrick, resolution, we can easily correct that with another resolution.
Yep.
Should be
Yeah.
fine, they're fair.
Yeah, they don't have to be advertised.
Just a resolution.
Okay.
Mhm.
Motion to approve, 14, 2019.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Sorry, my paper's everywhere. Moving on to Resolution 15, 2019. This one is stating that we are keeping the tax rate at 1.33 mil and the fire protection rate at 0.245 mil.
This, I believe, is the one on the duly adopted section, very last paragraph. It references January 3rd, 2017. I just suggested that the date today if we were adopting it correct.
Yep, 10th December. Definitely not 2017 to 2019. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this?
So moved.
Second.
Do I have any questions? Yes.
So, few meetings ago, you were gonna have an accountant look over everything. That's what I was just asking her, I don't know, because I got here late. Are you still doing that, or you're not?
to have an accountant look over the budget.
Yeah.
We motioned and approved that at like the workshop. We haven't
But we'll
moved
still
on
do
it.
Not going to.
Gentlemen, we had a resident who is an accountant look over it, and that's how I found most of these changes that we just made. So,
Okay, I misunderstood, because I thought the changes you made, before Jenna left, I had asked, well, I called to ask a few questions, and she said you and her were pulling stuff, papers and stuff, and changing numbers on the papers. So that's what I assumed this was. I didn't realize that there was an accountant who actually.
we had a resident who's an accountant who looked at it, gave me all of what she found. And then Chief had some changes, Glenda caught some stuff. So I went through and did that. And I don't know if you remember, Jenna did state that she was having a problem with the formula. I figured out where that was and
Okay.
got that changed. So I guess it would be, we did say we were gonna send it to an accountant. We didn't have an accountant
Right. I
that we
know.
were going to
Right.
particularly picked out.
That's why I was just
So-
wondering if you're still going to do that or not.
Gentlemen, do you have a preference?
The only thing I would like to do is formally ask our auditing firm to review it. I'm not satisfied that they won't do it. In my conversations with managers at other municipalities, it seemed to be routine business.
Okay,
So
I'm fine with that.
so you motion to have it
I
at
think we
least
already
look at?
did, create that motion. We just need
Okay,
to.
actually follow
Yeah, I'm
that.
not-
Will you make a note then? We'll send this over, or I can,
Should-
we'll have Scott contact, I guess, the auditor and have, or will you you'll see them? Will you have them, ask them if they'll look it over? Okay.
So then based on that and these numbers and, you know, get all the figuring out, where does this township stand then as far as a deficit? Or are we not in a deficit or where are we?
So the projected carryover for this year thus far, we don't have all 2019 numbers in yet, is 1,449, let me start over. 1,449,609 is the projected carryover. We're going to use 501,491 of that carryover to balance the budget. So our remaining carryover will be 948,118. So in the very beginning, I gave the total of what our expenditure was. The revenue changed slightly because we had a $250 change there, but some other stuff. But the difference between what we're spending and what we are getting in revenue is 501,491, and we're taking from the carryover to satisfy that.
Okay, so then at this point,
But we still have almost $1 million in carryover.
right, I mean, because you're not raising taxes, but
Correct.
we still got numbers that are not good.
We have $1 million plus in an account that,
Oh, you're
how is
saying
that not
okay, I
good?
misunderstood you.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Okay,
carryover is nearly $1
Yeah,
million.
okay, gotcha.
we have $1 million
I thought you were
sitting.
spending that, okay,
Mm-mm.
gotcha, I misunderstood.
No, and we have almost $650 in what we're it's the 650,000, sorry. 650,000 in the, what did we call that? The operating reserve.
Reserve, operating.
Right, which is a lot different than it was.
Well, we never had that before.
Well, I know that's good, but I'm
And
saying
then-
that was good.
The
Yeah.
capital reserve is what we're planning, we're making future plans. So, personally, we're sitting in a very cushy plus, I think, in my own personal opinion. Having $1 million carryover to me is still,
Well, that was different than the budget meeting that I was at, because I thought we were in a deficit at that point.
we're never in a deficit.
Well, what was the 400,000?
We were still never we never were in a deficit, ever. It was how much was carrying over is what the question was at the workshop meeting.
Okay.
So, yes.
I'm looking at basically, you're covering your current expenses out of your reserve.
No, it's not our reserve.
Well,
It's in our general fund.
it's in your general fund, but your current expenses versus your current income
Mhm.
is $400 or $500,000 less, so you have to take money that you had in the past. So what we're looking at, if no decisions are made, within 2 years, you have to have a tax increase. Unless you make
Yes.
decisions now to lower that, because if you have 500,000 deficit this year, if nothing changes, you have $500,000 deficit next year.
Yes.
And the year after that,
Yep.
your reserve will, whatever you want to call it.
The general
you
fund,
only
mhm.
have, it's less than $1 million, it's a little bit less. You will be, you will have to borrow money or raise taxes.
Correct.
Right.
So, in my business experiences, if I see we're getting close to the cliff, I would be looking at my expenditures now to see if I can narrow that.
I
So the
won't-
budget's advertised. If you think there's a spot in which we can reduce what we're spending, please feel free to let us know where you think that will be. I mean, I think we run a pretty narrow budget. I'm not sure where you want to cut money, but
I didn't say I want to cut money, I'm just saying from a management standpoint, I can see in 2 years, you're gonna be in trouble.
I don't know that
We
we'll
have-
be in trouble.
we
We
have
still
well
have
over a half.
$650,000 in a
Would you
rainy.
feel better if we continue to carry $2.5 million in the carryover of taxpayer money? Would that be better?
I'm just raising a potential that as the managers of our township, you should be looking not only at this year, but maybe you should be looking at where we're going to be.
We are, that's why we're now designating funds for capital purchases. They wanted another police officer this year that they didn't get. Highway had a large laundry list of items that they didn't get any of them. So,
I think we are planning. We have a operating expense fund set aside. We have MS4 monies set aside. We have building maintenance set aside. We have police cars, future police cars set aside. I think we are planning. I'm personally not comfortable with raising taxes when we have $1 million of taxpayer money sitting in an account that is not used. So,
What I was looking at is on the expense side, you're the ones that are given that responsibility to study the budget.
sure.
And it's just my point, I hope that you have been frugal in the decision makings as to what your expenditures are.
I feel that I have. So,
I might agree with you if we didn't have more than half, like in this budget, you're saying we're out of balance, and I understand that, that's because we have well over $500,000 in reserve, in reserve. So, yeah, at some point, if the expenses continue to exceed revenue, we have to raise taxes. And then the question is always, when to do that and how much to do it. I think previous boards built up a heck of a reserve that just sat and sat and sat, and that's also problematic.
and not to mention the unknowns, do we put, at one point, we were, we set aside $750,000 for MS4, and then we weren't gonna spend any of it. And now it's back on the table with a meeting that took place 9 months after the meeting took place that virtually everyone in the room guaranteed us that was gonna be done, so. I wish it was as easy as, planning it out, knowing exactly where it's gonna be, but when you start putting $750,000 projects, we're in, we're out, we're in, we're out, it's tough.
any other questions?
Are you gonna put the update of the budget on the website after you correct it?
Yes?
And could you put the minutes, updated minutes on the website? I think they haven't been updated since August or September.
Sure, I can give it a shot.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and the other thing, in relation to the community park, the Campbelltown Park, is that something that there was supposed to be a pavilion and playground things for children? Is that something that can be addressed in the budget, or is that something that the community has to get donations for?
As far as I know, it was always stated that no tax money would be used over there, so that goes back to finding money to make it happen.
Okay, even though you have $1 million?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So moving on, I don't know where we were, because that was more budget talk. Do you have any?
Yeah, we
We're on
was,
16.
16, so we approved not raising the tax
Right.
mills.
It
Great.
was voted on, or was that still a question?
I was gonna say,
Was that a
I think it was
question?
still,
We have a motion and a second?
Yeah, Jack and Bill.
Okay.
But I
How
don't-
about
Oh.
all those in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
That part was.
All right, so moving on to Resolution 16, 2019, which is the fee schedule. At the top, it says 16, 2020.
Yes, and I think this was the other one that I mentioned, the resolution number as well as,
So that should be 2019.
correct, and the date, December 10th, 2019. Unless the intent was to adopt this at your January meeting. I didn't know what the intent was behind this resolution. It's the free resolution, so you can do it now or you can do it in January. It's up-
Yeah.
It's up to the board.
You also had a question about something else that changed on here, Patrick, didn't you?
Yeah, the old fee schedule resolution, and I noticed my hourly rate for real estate and land use matters was $175, and that's staying the same.
Where, what page is that?
That would be.
Oh, here it is, I see,
Yeah, the way
175.
we do our rates is, so the 175 would be for real estate related
Gotcha.
items. And then the other, that's 175, that hasn't changed. And then the other one is for general municipal matters and litigation, and that's 160. But I didn't see where the 160 was in the current proposed fee schedule resolution.
Is it in the old?
It's in the old, so I'm looking at the old. I'm using my place, oh, here it is, it's at the top. Now that's solicitation permit, sale of ordinance, right to know, subdivision.
So I'll be honest with you, I think the 175 is more likely going to be something potentially passed on to a resident, which is why it's in your fee schedule resolution.
Yes.
The litigation is not going to get passed on, which is probably why it's not in here, which is why the 160 is not typically found in the fee schedule. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I think the correction would just be to,
Change it to the
it would
175.
basically be the same as it was last year, the 175.
Okay. Okay. So we have that one change, Glenda, do you have that? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve this? I guess we had two changes, the year on here.
Yeah, so moved as Jane noted.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Okay. There's one here for you.
Yeah, that's just cross that off. We did it already. You don't want to do it again, do you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so moving on to new business. We have a new hire, police secretary. She will be starting, is it the 16th?
That's what I'm told.
Okay, and she will be, her rate of pay, I need to state that, correct, Patrick?
Yes.
$15 an hour. She will have the review, she'll have a review in 3 months after that. Any questions about that? Do we need to, we already decided to do that. We don't need to motion to do that, do we, Patrick? Her rate of pay?
Did you already do the before on the rate of pay? Then I would do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept her rate of pay of $15 an hour with a 3-month review?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tour de Gretna, you're up, gentlemen. Do you have anything you want to present?
I do.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Gentile. This is Ed Knight. We represent Florida Gretna. And we're asking permission to have this race on May 9th and 10th of 2020. Now, it will be the 4th annual Tour de Gretna, and it's proud to host both the Pennsylvania State Masters Road Race Championship, as well as on Sunday morning, the State Pennsylvania Time Trial Masters Championship. And, Mount Gretna is an ideal location to host both of these events, beautiful woodland surroundings and challenging rolling hills. The race organizers are committed to raising money for community projects such as the construction of the planned pedestrian bridge going from Soldier Field over to what would be the grounds of the art show. So we're working with Bill Carey and some of the folks in the Chautauqua about that, and also playground projects in Mount Gretna. Now, we this year decided to co-promote this event with co-promote this event with the Tour de Lebanon Valley. Okay, and we did that because by combining the two events, we were better able to apply for a hotel tax grant request. So that's all the money that people pay for taxes when they come in and visit Lebanon County. And we did get $10,000 to co-promote, and what that would involve would be like billboards that would show both events, the Tour de Gretna side by side, the Tour the Tour de Lebanon Valley, and Facebook ads, newspaper ads, etc. So that's our goal. Now, even though I said it was a 4th annual Tour de Gretna, actually, we had a Tour de Gretna in 86, 87, and 89, the first year I moved to Mount Gretna. And when I attended that, it actually precipitated one of my many midlife crises I was about to have. And so at the time I was working for Dun & Bradstreet, and I was so enamored by it, I decided, I'm going to make bicycling my next career, one of my next careers. So to that end, the reason why I'm leading you to this point is that bicycle tourism contributes $83 billion annually to the U.S. economy. So just recently, in 2018, the Bureau of Economic Analysis included outdoor recreation in its calculations of GDP for the first time. That's pretty significant, because GDP, obviously, GDP to our debt ratio is pretty significant. So they estimate that economic output of outdoor recreation to be $734 billion, which is interesting because that number surpasses industries of agriculture, petroleum and coal, computer and electronic products. So we've been at some events this year, and the event promoters that I work with usually say it's about $150 a day that people will spend when they come to Lebanon County. In this particular grant, which was accepted for $10,000, they estimated $121 per day. So that's what we're asking permission for. And we expect to reach over 1,000 visitors and riders between the two events. And, that translates to, 3 or 4 days at $121 a day at the low estimate times 1,000 people. So that's a pretty significant influx of economy to our beautiful county. And I always like to mention that it doesn't really require any infrastructure buildup because the roads are already there. So the Tour de Lebanon Valley, which would be on June 13th, I want to make this clear, is a bike ride. What we're proposing is the 9th and 10th to be an actual bike race. But along with that in mind, what we did and what we've been saying for quite some time, and this is to attract better sponsors like JBT or Stricklers or whoever we propose this to, is venue development. In other words, you've got maybe 250 or 300 riders because it is the state championship, it's significant. But if you can get them to bring their children and their wives and their friends, then that number becomes more like 600 or 700 people. So what we're trying to do is venue development. Better venues attract more riders and their families. So we hope to create venue experience that can be shared between events. Examples of this is a bike rodeo obstacle course for kids, expanded food and beverage options, more vendors from all around, entertainment and on-site family activities. For example, on Mother's Day, we want to just have a 2-stage race so that we're done by 11 and 12, and we're going to encourage people to come, bring their mothers or whatever, or come and dine at the Timbers, or stay in Lebanon County once you're here for the whole weekend. So to that end also, we're going to enlist the help of Pickle, which is part of a national organization called NICA, and I'm on the advisory board. I wrote his t-shirt. We just had one of our meetings on Saturday afternoon. Pickle stands for Pennsylvania I can read this upside down. Pennsylvania Interscholastic Cycling League. And it's almost 1,000 strong. In the next 2 years, we hope to be in every county in the state of Pennsylvania. And where it's primarily mountain biking at this point in time, but it's an alternative to basketball, football, baseball, wrestling for kids that maybe are not familiar with team sports. And so we're planning on having the local composite teams come and help us with the parking and with the venue, and to provide the obstacle course and do some other on-site activities while the races are going on that are family friendly. And also give those kids that are primarily involved in mountain biking a look-see at road racing. Obviously, when we say we're hosting the Masters Championship, it's because almost 80% of our clientele is 40, 50, 60 years old, which is good for economic prosperity for our county, but there doesn't seem to be anybody coming up through. Kind of reminds me of the Social Security system. But at any rate, so that's what we're asking permission for, and just a quick word on the grant that we got, and we'll enjoy promoting both events from the Tour to Lebanon Valley. And I'll just read this. That's on June 13th. The Tour to Lebanon Valley Bike Ride is a collaborative effort between the Community Health Council of Lebanon County, the LV Bike Coalition, the Lebanon Valley Conservancy, and Visit Lebanon Valley, that tourism board. Our event doesn't just promote recreational riding in our amazing countryside. It also is an important fundraiser for 3 hardworking local nonprofits. In 2020, this event is all raising money for innovative youth cycling again. So that's what we're asking permission for. And if you have any questions, Ed and I will field them. Right now, I think Ed's going to talk a little bit about logistics of this race.
Yeah, first of all, we don't want to take for granted that you're going to approve it, even though you have the past 3 years. We've worked really well with Chief Regal, and the road race part of the approval will be the same as the past 3 years. Nothing will change. Just to give you an idea of where it is, it begins in the center of Mount Gretna. You go to Colebrook and you turn right on 117, then you make an immediate right onto Mine Road, and you go across Mine Road, across Butler, which brings you down to 322.72, and you come back in 117. So it's about a 10-mile lap. The races during the day will be anywhere between 30 and 60 miles. So it'll either be a 3-lap race up to a 6-lap race. The 60-miler will include professional riders. It's called Pro 1-2. So I mean, there will be some very good riders from the East Coast participating in this event as they have in the past. The second day, which will be a morning event only, we are looking to have a time trial, an individual time trial. Europeans refer to it as a race of trivia. Basically, it's just you, your machine, and against the clock. And what we would do is start at the exact same spot in Mount Gretna. We would go to 117, turn right on 117, then you can make an immediate left on 241, and then make an immediate right onto 341 until we got to Holbrook Road, turns right, and begins to head towards Hershey. We would continue through that lawn, Holbrook Road, 241 intersection, and go about another 3/4 of a mile on Gingrich Road, and then it would be an immediate turnaround back to Mount Gretna. That would be exactly 20 kilometers, which is a fair distance for a time trial. So that's the added event that we really felt that we needed to come to you tonight to explain why it's a 2-day rather than a 1-day event like last year. So I do have the application, I have the maps included, and I'll present that to you for your consideration.
Thank you.
And say thank you. As far as the event development is concerned, not only are we having a bike race, but we're also going to have a music festival at the same time.
That's the
Chautauqua
grant,
has
which we
purchased Soldier
accepted, and that's
Field,
gonna be our
and we're going to
promotion
use
for
that to our
sponsors.
advantage.
Okay.
And we're going to have music all day in a very large tent from 12 o'clock until 7 o'clock in the evening. And we're in negotiations right now with Trogues Brewery to also have a beer garden. We will have an obstacle course, bike rodeo for children at the event itself. So everything will be centrally located. Last year we raised money not only for the Stacey Pennington Foundation, we also raised money for the pedestrian bridge, and we also raised money for the local Boy Scout troop. So we're not in this to make money, we're in this to help our community. And that was our primary concern last year. We had about 320 racers, we had 100 plus spectators. This year we expect more like 400 riders because we're adding another event, and probably we estimate closer to 300 spectators with the venue development that we're looking at. So we're hoping for our 2-day event, 700 people. And because it's a 2-day event and most of the people come from outside the community, they're going to need housing, so that means rental properties will obviously be used, and they'll be looking to use local restaurants as well. So I think our economic impact will be a very positive sort of thing. We will also be having a demo day in which people can come out and test ride mountain bikes and also test ride gravel bikes. I don't know if you're familiar, but the latest craze across the United States is riding a gravel bike because there's so many rail trails that you can't ride a road bike on the gravel, and mountain bikes are a little too cumbersome. So this is a new fad that's catching on, and we want to be in front of that. So this demo day, we hope people have a chance to try out gravel bikes on the rail trail. So that's basically an overview of what we're hoping to accomplish. Like I said, we don't want to take for granted that you were just going to rubber stamp this and say, yeah, go ahead. We want you to understand what we're doing in Mount Redna and how it impacts, South Londonderry Township as well. Thank you for your time.
Where are you having the beer garden and all that?
It
Is
will be
that
Soldiers
at
Field.
Soldiers Field?
Yes.
So all the events will be
All the
at
events will be
Soldiers Field?
centralized right there. The start-finish lines will be right there. Everything will be contained in that one location.
And the same with the, what did you call it, where you have a trial run?
The time
kids.
trial?
No, the kid event.
Oh, yes, the kids
That's
event will be
there
there as
also?
well. Yes, we'll be building the obstacles and having, some sort of like a bike rodeo so that they can test their skills, at that location.
And is that all mountain bikes, or are you talking like BMX stuff?
You can do that as well.
Any bike.
Yeah, any bike at all.
Yeah, it'd be pretty, and the other thing that's nice is that rail bed is right by the Soldier Field, by the parking area. So it's gonna give us an opportunity to get bigger bike companies, and we have a huge distributor in Lancaster called Quality Bicycle Products, major employer in the area. And they own a lot of bicycle companies, and so we're working with them to come up, bring bikes to demo, and then you can go right from the field without going across any streets into the railroad bed, right there at the spur back there, and then demo the products, and also go to various locations along the rail trail and spectate. So it's a real ideal situation. The other thing I was going to say was, man, I've been racing bikes since about 1989 and probably do 20, 30 races a year. And this race course, we designed it to try to be as safe as possible. There's only like really 3 turns in it. And we use the Lebanon Auxiliary Police along with South Londonderry, and most of the Lebanon Auxiliary Police, 20 of them we employed for that day, and they manned every of the corners. There's only 3 corners, but also the intersections at Butler and down by the post office, etc. So I don't think we've had any incidents, which is unusual for a bike race, but I've been to a lot of bike races, as I'm repeating myself, but it's a safe design course. Most people really like the course. It's a real test. You got to climb up Mine Road, and so much so that the Pennsylvania Bar, which is the governing body of the USA Cycling, said your race course is great and it's centrally located in Pennsylvania, and we're going to grant you the state championship again. Now, all these riders, at least in our event, will be licensed, and you can just be an amateur and just come and buy a license and still get in the event that day if you choose to. But everybody will be licensed, and then I always go to Strickler Insurance. And so you're covered under USA Cycling because everybody's licensed, so you're covered in that regard. And then I also get another way to mitigate liability by getting my business insurance, which is Lupine Lighting Systems is my business. And we cover all municipalities involved in Chautauqua, and we get certificates of indemnity, I guess, for all that. One other thing I wanted to mention that's pretty important and probably important to the community as well. So this is a yellow line rule race, so we don't close down any roads, ever. So what happens is you've got a lead car, and then you've got a trailing motorcycle, and then you've got the Peloton. And it proceeds around, and no one's allowed, that's what the motorcycle's there for, no one's allowed to cross over the yellow line. So traffic is not held up. Now, if you come up behind the Peloton, then you just wait till it makes its next turn and you proceed about your merry way. So the most anybody gets delayed is a couple of minutes. Now, gradually as the race wears on, certain people will fall off the Peloton and they will be stragglers. And when they do that, we also have motorcycles officials, there are USA Cycling officials, that kind of protect them a little bit, but make no mistake about it, once you fall out of the Peloton, then you're subject to the rules of the road, just like any of us would be if we went out and started riding our bike. So the idea is that it's contained, it's not closing down any roads, I guess that's what I wanted to make clear, because that's always an issue. And then the time trial is simply one bike at a time at 1 minute intervals. And so that doesn't hold up traffic at all, because there's plenty of good shoulders all along those roads that we suggested. So that's it, I guess. Does anybody have any questions that we can answer?
The only, I mean, yeah, I don't recall any incidents.
There are no incidents, but there's definitely some improvements that we need to make. There were some close calls that we need to address.
The time trial one concerns me a bit because you're turning around, so now you're, both sides.
I think the route, well, first of all, it's going to be Sunday morning. We did that specifically, and having ridden those roads on the mornings, particularly on the weekends, traffic is minimal. And jokingly, I said to my wife, we'll probably have more trouble with Amish buggies than with automobiles on part of Gingrich Road. But there is sufficient shoulder going out and back that I think the issues will be minor. The turn on 117 and then on to 241 on the traffic and the cross traffic, those will be the two spots that will be heavily monitored to make sure that we don't have any issues. Last year we put signage on the entire course, warning people that there is a bike race in progress, so the signs are visible, and we put up like 25 different signs. So I mean, people will be aware of that a day in advance or maybe 2 days in advance. I don't want to put them up too early because then people just take them up.
We also had a flyer constructed that we put in every mailbox of every person that was along the race course. And to your point on the turnaround, what happens is you've got a race official down there, and then you've got a couple of volunteers, probably in our case an auxiliary police, Lebanon Auxiliary, and then there's some red markers, pylon things. And so as somebody's approaching, then the auxiliary police will stop the traffic in both directions, and they quickly do a 180 and come back the other way, again on the shoulder. And so that's how we monitor the turnaround.
Chief, they work with you, and you work well together?
Yeah, we never did the time trial here. The first year that I know of that we did it, that it was tied up line road, or 117 very badly. That's more heavily traveled. I think that was...
The issue there was that the time trial ended in Colebrook, and many of the riders kind of hung out for a while and then rode as a pack back, and they did. They really did create a traffic nightmare. This will be simply, they're going to be racing all the way back, and it'll be just a single rider rather than maybe a pack of 7 or 8. And I will admit they did take advantage of the situation tremendously.
Yeah, much like we do for the art show, I think some meetings with all involved ahead of time to anticipate some of these problems and try to
I
solve.
think we had a good meeting last year, and I think we kind of got some things.
Yeah, we'll need to talk about some of the things that went wrong last year.
Of course.
And I'm not opposed to closing roads if it's gonna make the thing safer, and it actually might benefit motorists not having to deal with cyclists after cyclists.
The only thing we might have to close is on Saturday, that stretch from the pizza shop up to the field where it finishes. And we were hoping that we could close that because we had some issues there. And then the people, the residents can go out over where Dr. Otto's road is.
Lakeview Road.
Yeah, the same way they do it at the art show, in exit and entrance there. So hopefully no one will be disadvantaged at all for getting in and out. And also down to the post office, we put a lot of auxiliary police there because we know Saturday morning, there's a lot of people that need to get in there and go to the post office. So I think we did okay last year, but again, we need to have a couple of meetings with West Cornwall as well, as we did last year.
Always open for suggestions.
Any other questions? Connie?
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
no, so you're okay?
One of the things
I
that
think
I'm
we can make it.
concerned,
Hang on one second, Connie, I'm
I
sorry.
think we can make it workable, safe for the event.
Thanks, Chief.
Connie, yes.
one of the things I have concern about is you do get lingering bicyclists, and it definitely creates a traffic issue. Especially on these roads that are windy and hilly. I mean, my concern is one of these days someone's gonna get hit. Because when you have these events, and it's not just this event, even another event, I mean, I'm just wondering how many police officers, because it was one day, now it's gonna be two, how many police officers are we gonna need to patrol this event?
I'm not sure, we'll figure that out, and they foot the bill, so.
We reimburse everything.
But I'm just wondering, I mean, would we even need more? I mean, would they help with, in Cornwall or in
Yeah, West Cornwall.
South Danville?
Yes.
And we did have, again, 20 auxiliary police for 8 hours at $19 an hour. That was we actually lost money every year so far successfully. It's not a problem to do that piece of cake.
You might want to hire Ed over there to help you.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, no, I agree.
It is concerning because they are traveling, especially on my road, very fast. And, you know, it just worries me sometimes that, I mean, you don't want to close roads or anything, but it really is concerning.
Okay. Any other questions?
Agreed.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Just so they
for this?
submitted the application, you're gonna provide a cert of insurance, correct?
Correct.
And there's a general release, I think we've had them sign before as well. It might not be in there, but this is May, so it's plenty of time for.
Yeah, so we just wanted to make sure we presented it at the time.
Especially because we're in this co-promotion situation where we already got the grant money, we're gonna put the billboards up.
Right.
And hopefully a lot of people will then come to the county and stay the whole weekend. That's the idea of 2 days. That was kind of a main thrust of the 2-day event because the grant people want to see it. So you're going to bring people in for the whole weekend. And yeah, so that's kind of what we want, 2 days.
Okay,
So before I,
do anything else?
yeah, I don't want to throw in Bill's lap without him accepting it. So before I make the motion, my intention is to make a motion based on your ultimate satisfaction of the traffic control, because I mean, that's what it revolves around.
On approval?
Yeah.
I would hold off until we have a meeting and, like, I think there's more questions and issues to be addressed. It wouldn't be a problem for you guys to
Not at all.
just delay it a little bit.
No.
I just think they're,
When would you need this approved by to continue with your promotions?
I think they're going to start the billboards in February.
Do you guys have enough time to meet?
It's already on the bar schedule, right, so
I don't
people
have
from
my
all around the
calendar with
state are already planning to come here. So, yeah, we can meet anytime
So-
In January sometime?
or sooner. That's all.
Well, our next meeting is January 6th, which is relatively quick, all things considered, or else we have a workshop January 26th. So do we want to put it, do you guys, are you able to meet before?
Okay, well, I'll email you guys.
Okay.
And then we can ask Bill if we can have the meeting at the usual place in Mount Gretna, Chautauqua there, Bill Care.
Bring us one
Same way we did it last year, if that's okay. And before January 6th, then.
Do you want it on the
Sure.
January 6th agenda then?
Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
I'm going to give that to you for your signature first, and then we'll,
If at all possible, if you could come back with a detailed as you can traffic plan, you know, do you intend to have, you know, the entire time of the race, you know, someone staged at this intersection, you know, any of those kind of things that you can.
Yeah, we do have a pretty good experience base in that every year we've had 20 auxiliary police, same guys or gals coming out. And yeah, they're kind of getting.
It would just be helpful to be able to.
Agreed.
To know the expectations and then confirm that they, you know, follow through so that everybody's.
Not a problem. Yeah, thank you.
yep, thank you. Glenda, will you note to put that on the January 6th? Thank you. All right, moving on, lawn boxcar approval. Who would like to speak on this?
So when Lebanon County upgraded their CAD system, for the longest time we always had Rescue Q and Rescue 38 in our wagon on the following calls: an aircraft, motor vehicle accident into a structure, or a farm industrial accident. So we would have 2 rescues and an engine. With the upgrade of the CAD system in Lebanon County, it somehow got turned into just Rescue 2 and Wagon 3. This is an effort to just go back to having the 2 rescues, adding Rescue 38 from Mount Gretna to our territory.
Okay. Any questions? You need our approval to do this.
Absolutely, yeah. I need some-
Assuming that's why it's before
Yeah.
us.
In the past, we used to be able to just submit these and somebody would sign off on them, so I don't know how. I guess something changed somewhere along the line. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Do I have any questions in regards to this, or do I have a motion to approve this?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Mike Adams, thank you for being so patient.
So I'm Michael Adams, I'm with the local Boy Scout crew just down there. I am a Life Scout, which is the second highest rank in the Boy Scouting organization, and to complete my Eagle Scout, which is the final and most famous rank, I need to do a project that serves the local community in some way and helps the area around me give back to the community. So I've come here today to propose my idea to the township. I'd like to do a rain garden bioretention thing. So how it works is it helps with, it serves 2 purposes mainly. It has an aesthetic/educational purpose, and it has the environmental water purpose. So for the water purpose, it helps filter pollutants by using natural plants that we would acquire. You'd have to dig up roughly, I believe, 18 inches of soil and replace it with composted soil and like a special soil for the plants that we plan to put there. You basically fill the area with plants, and the plants help to reduce the pollutants in it and just basically leach out the unwanted things from the water before it returns down to the groundwater. Yeah, and it also helps to store water for the township. Like rainwater would store in there for about 72 hours and usually drain out. So it's a good place for it to sink water. Yeah, so I've been contemplating different sites of where this could go. Somewhere where the township owns would be the most convenient. My first pick for somewhere for it to be would be out here in this lot over behind the development near the playground. And the reason I would pick that is because of the second purpose that it serves, which is the educational and aesthetic value. It would be near where a lot of people are, and like the great potential to put like a placard there and say what purpose it serves. And just to educate the community about like what the rain garden does, how it helps the environment. Just, you know, pass along environmental messages to the local community. I talked to Don Block about this project a lot, and there are other sites that we considered, like over down by the fire hall is another possible consideration. But I just need the township's approval to start planning this, yeah. So I'll take any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you for presenting that to us. Do you guys have any questions? Does anyone have any questions out in the crowd? Yes.
I don't have a question, but I just want to applaud you for, it's not easy to do public speaking. And as a child, I just want to applaud you and tell you, good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Pat.
In our 2013 comprehensive plan, in the environmental section of the plan, it encourages us to have rain gardens. So we would be helping to carry out our comprehensive plan.
Yeah, and part of what Dawn said is that I don't fully understand the MS4 stuff, obviously.
No
but
one
from what I
There's questions from everyone on that, but yeah, you're not alone.
But from what I've gathered from what Dawn's told me is having it in the urbanized area of the township, that being Campbelltown,
Yes.
which where my number one spot obviously is to put it out there, that benefits the township in many ways with the
Yes.
MS4 program.
It would give us some of our credits, yes, that would be wonderful. I think the only thing we'd have to check, and I'm sure Dawn probably has already researched it, is just to make sure we're not hitting any stormwater facilities back over there.
We've discussed that,
Mhm.
and we've looked into the potential of getting a civil engineer on board with the project and, things like that, so we can, make sure we know exactly what we're getting into and we have the best possible spot to put this.
So I would say on behalf of our two associates, we'd be willing to donate our services to help with the project, to make sure.
Even
everything
better
goes
for
right.
you. Thank
We
you.
love getting involved in these types of projects.
That would be wonderful.
Great.
Do I have a motion for him to proceed with finding a spot and coming back and presenting to us possibly once you have everything hammered out?
So,
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, do I have any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your time.
I just want to say Dawn called me earlier today and we talked about, she was upset she was missing you, but I don't know if you're aware, it's because she's meeting the vice president, so. Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thank you. Will you come back and let us
Mike,
know then?
Here's my contact information. Feel free to reach out.
Thank you.
We'd be glad to help you out with it.
All right, moving on to flight path streetlights. Streetlights, more streetlights. So, do I have it here? No. Do you have the numbers for that?
We don't have them back yet from the county.
Oh, okay.
We're waiting for them to get us 17 and 18.
Okay. So,
We have a list of all the ones that have paid, but we weren't sure if they paid in a discount period or the regular or the penalty period. So we're waiting for numbers to come in from not the assessment, the treasurer's office.
okay, well then I would motion that we table this until we have those numbers so that we can make a decision on how we want to handle repaying that. Do I have a second to table that?
Second.
Do I have any questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
So the one that asked for a refund, I should just tell them that we tabled it for now.
And we'll put it on the agenda January 6th. So that way we need the numbers of how much we're returning overall, because it's it's a whole flight path.
No, it's not a whole fight, but the landings people, the people on landings look like they paid streetlights, the ones on the taxiway did not.
Okay.
So,
I personally would just like to have the numbers first, so that we know what we're looking at before
yeah, that's
we
fine.
say, yes, refund. So, okay. Old business, South Londonderry Township Police EMR MOU. I don't have that in front of me.
I circulated that, I think, yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe the chief and I need to follow up on a couple things. Eventually, it's gonna have to get circulated back to law and EMS and the officers who are considering, if not already, right, getting certified or credentialed for that type of particular service. I don't know if you've all had a chance to review it.
looks fine to me. If somebody else has issues, we'll talk about it, but I'm getting tired of kicking it back and forth.
Just a few dozen typos I need you to fix.
Oh, sure.
I would like to move forward on it and get it
Objections,
done.
chief?
What was her?
I just want to I would like to get it done. I don't have a problem with it either, unless there was something.
No,
that we
there
could-
actually is an error to that I would
Well,
need to.
typos, you said, or
Well,
major
really,
things.
What I wanted to talk to the chief was, the way I've phrased the services is how it was originally in that, well, I don't know who put that original resolution together, but I referenced it as emergency medical services at a level above and beyond, and then it references, CPR, the standard.
First aid.
Yes, and I don't know if there's a better way to reference these types of services. That's the only thing I was curious as to.
Maybe,
And you don't have to, I don't want to put you on the spot, that's why
Yeah.
we just need a
No, I
conversation,
think-
that's all.
I don't think it's wrong the way you phrased it, but you might be able to use something else.
So that puts us at another month of,
No, I think if the board is content with the revisions that were made by me that I circulated yesterday, and the chief can let me know whatever his edits or corrections are, I can make them, I'll circulate them, and then if the board wants, we can simply forward that on to, Lon has to look at this, because they're the other party, as well as the officers have to look at it, because they're the other parties to this MOU. So there's no reason, if once I can make the corrections that the chief has, to circulate it and forward it on to those other parties, so long as the board's okay with it.
okay.
So they can start looking at it.
What do you have? What do you
It's
have?
basically just a duplication of words in one of the paragraphs.
Oh, so it's
okay.
true.
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Motion to approve the policy as noted.
Well,
To-
it'd be a motion to forward.
to
it.
forward
We
it to
don't know if
Lon
other
and the
parties are
police.
agreeable to it because I made those changes.
So we're approving it. If they don't, then it doesn't work. I'm just trying to keep this back. All
Well, no, this is, remember, this is the first time it's been, no,
You're thinking the employee.
emergency responders.
No,
This is the
this has
police.
we've been at this for months as well. I'm just
It's both of them
trying
have
to
been a
forget-
long
Trying
time.
to eliminate that constant, back and forth. So if we approve it and they don't, it's dead.
Yeah, true.
That's my thoughts.
Okay, well, there's a motion. You motioned that.
Motion.
You have a second? Okay, any questions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Fire study update, I don't believe we have one. The interim manager compensation, previously when Scott has done interim manager position, which has been at least 3 times, I think. He has been, well, this last time he was paid $300 per pay period. So we agreed to pay him some monies. Pat's locked out. Thank you. So do I have a motion to compensate him $300 per pay period?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye. So our next meeting is, please note, it's on a Monday, January 6th, is the reorganization meeting and also our regular meeting. Patrick, will you be there for that one? You usually aren't.
Yeah, the problem our firm has is we represent.
There's only so
about-
many of you?
There's only so many of us, and we represent a good 20, 25 municipalities, and every township of the second class reorganizes on the same night. I can look at my other municipal clients, and if there are significant items on your agenda, and if you want me here, I will be here. I
Okay.
just have to look
Let's see
into-
what's on there, because
Okay.
maybe it's
So
not
usually
needed.
that's how Jenna did it. She let me know what was on the agenda, and if there was no reason for me to be here, she would just let me know.
Okay. And then we have a supervisor workshop meeting. We actually have them planned in December, but I don't believe, do you guys know the date of that? I don't have it.
Oh, it was the 26th.
I don't have my calendar with me.
Probably have it wrong.
Yes, I still use a paper calendar. True confessions. I left it at home.
Would've been 25th.
I think it would have been, but then did we move it? I think we would have moved, I think we moved it to the 23rd.
Yeah.
So I don't believe there's anything on there. I'm gonna try to make it so that there's nothing on there since it's right before Christmas. So we'll officially put on there if it's going to be canceled, yes.
We sort of skipped over the fire study thing. I know John's not here to give an update.
Correct.
That was the update you used to.
The update was there is no update.
There is no.
Okay, well, maybe I was looking at something else apparently at that time. Are we gonna ever, I mean, like, it seems like this is another thing that's been dragging on. Like, can we set a date there? We expect it to be done?
I can ask him next fire board meeting, but the last 2 fire board meetings, we haven't had a quorum. And I do believe there was a request. There was a request to actually meet less, but I don't remember what that was now for fire board. But anyways, I can find out at the next fire board meeting if we can get an idea of.
Would that have to go to fire board? To just?
No, but
mean,
I guess I could
think
email
you
him
guys-
too
Yeah.
and find out where we're at.
For the fire board, it might be,
It might be, yeah. I'll email him and find out and get back to you. Okay. Any good and welfare? Yes?
Is there any update on whether you're going to continue doing a quarterly newsletter? Is that something that's no longer going to happen?
I personally did not want to see a quarterly newsletter, no. I would prefer to see something online.
Well, can you do a quarterly newsletter online?
If we have the people in the township with the availability to do it, yes.
Okay, because you could do a quarterly one online and then just maybe have a few copies placed at the library or the municipal building for people that don't have online capability.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Anything else for good and welfare? Yes?
I failed to mention, mine is just an FYI, I should have done it on my report. If you recall, Lindell Street subdivision and the flight path land development, those development agreements are almost, if not in final form. I've been copying, I think I'm bothering you as well.
No, that's okay.
And both applicants just want to make sure that the board is okay authorizing Faith to execute them once they're completely finalized. And I don't have a problem with that, so long as the board is on board with that. You've already approved the plans.
We've already approved
Right.
everything.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. We're just waiting.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else? All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
So I was literally
I saw
the third